Yeah, bye. All right, XOXO. Got a girl. Audra at Home is filmed in front of a live Pitbull audience. Good morrow and merry meet. My name is Audra and you are in for a treat. All right, knowing me, there's a very bombastic thumbnail proclaiming the end of the BBL, which sort of, yes. And I wanted to discuss that. Now, if you came here in hopes that I was going to be spending all of my time shitting on the Kardashians and their black aesthetic, this is the wrong place to be. If you've also come here so that you can crap on people and their body choices, again, wrong place to be. Because I actually want to talk about this in a different format. So allegedly, Kim K and Khloe have removed the alleged BBLs that they had previously. I'm going to be using alleged a lot, so don't take shots. I wouldn't say of water because other people say that, and also I don't like water, so if you want to take a shot of something, have it be non-alcoholic but delicious. All right, so I also wanted to say that there will be a trigger warning in this video for ED because there are many mentions of how we obtain said beauty standards, and many of those have to do with ED. So if that is going to trigger you in any way, shape, or form, please, please, please click out of the video. I do not want you to do any harm to yourself. It is better for your mental health to leave. I don't need the view that bad, babes. Mwah. In light of these changes in the aesthetic of the female body, I wanted to actually start talking about this in the most abstract and weird way that only I know how. And I wanted to talk about in the 90s, I remember the rise of the heroin chic body. It was phenomenal. It was everywhere. You could not escape it. And I don't mean phenomenal like great. I mean phenomenal like phenomenally intense and an insane aesthetic. And if you were naturally thin, it was okay. If you were already naturally that size, it was kind of nice for you because for a while you did not have to excuse or talk about your body in a way that made you uncomfortable. It was just your body. But when that aesthetic rose up, and I know that this has been a thing that's happened throughout time, but I want to talk about the times that I have lived through. And so, yes, did Marilyn Monroe do this? All these, yes. But I'm talking about my lifetime, babes, and I don't want to keep you here for 2 hours talking about the varying forms of female aesthetic. When that became so popular, the face of which was Kate Moss, everybody and their grandma was trying to get that body. And as my dear friend Emily pointed out, so when those incredibly thin frames were in, many people began, if they hadn't already been on the path to an ED, to try to obtain this body, to try to obtain this perfect, rail thin, I look like I have never eaten a meal, and I also live in a dark alley. That was the aesthetic. And if you think I'm kidding, here's a few pics. The reality of that whole situation was that, like my dear friend Emily said, even with an ED, there was no guarantee that you were going to get that body. Genetics, unfortunately and fortunately, plays a huge part in how we look and how our bodies are shaped. So you could work out 1,000 hours and you could also just stop eating, but those things weren't going to give you that body. But then, once again, as happens with the female form, a few years later, a different trend emerged. And that trend was huge titties on an impossibly thin body. So the upgrade, and I say that with quotes, the upgrade to the heroin chic body was adding impossibly huge titties. And a lot of this I feel like is in part due to the popularity of Baywatch and having Pam Anderson there. There was this weird long push for a while that everybody just get huge titties. And it was pretty intense for quite a while. In fact, I do remember that there was a period of time in which you could not go into any bar bathroom without somebody making you touch their titties, just being like, no, feel them, they're real. Like there was always a line in there, and I thought the line was to potty. It was not. I didn't realize it was the titty line, and they were very insistent. But they started to get so much better with breast implants that everybody wanted you to touch them. But prior to that, prior to the big titties and possibly thin frame, there was like this weird around plastic surgery. Plastic surgery was something that you basically did in private. When I harken back to Marilyn Monroe, she wasn't the only like old glamorous Hollywood star who had plastic surgery to look more appealing. But back then it was something you didn't talk about. However, as time moves forward into the big titties, tiny body era, Tara Reid and many, many other actors and actresses moved into this trend. The thing was, you didn't really talk about it. Like, celebrities literally just showed up with huge titties and we just weren't told anything. I do believe that the proliferation and popularization of Playboy Playmates in the mainstream helped to actually normalize not only getting plastic surgery, but talking about it. So you had two things happening at one time in this big titty, tiny body era, which was that plastic surgery started to be talked about more and more and more. And even celebrities started to say when they had had work done. Up until this point, it was like, mum's the word, and if anybody even bothered to ask them about it, they would just kind of smirk or look to the side or just deny, right? But then that body style changed, right? We went from having the huge titties on the impossibly thin body to what would later start moving towards the slim thick body, which was where it was like you had a little bit of thigh, you had a little bit of ass, but it was more about the ass. The ass aesthetic became like a big deal. It didn't matter so much if you actually had titties as long as you had that ass, right? And that whole like shelf ass where you could set a glass on top of it. I don't know if y'all remember that era, but it was something else. And it just started to get more and more out of hand, right? And by out of hand, I mean, it became quite obvious to some of us, but not obvious to all, that there was definitely surgery involved, but nobody would tell us how. And at the time, I feel like none of us really understood that there was like a butt surgery. Do you know what I mean? Like none of us really concocted that there was a butt surgery, because all of these people with these impossibly huge asses were also talking to you about doing 8,000 squats a day and eating raw egg whites. You know what I mean? It was like weird shit where they were literally telling us these very odd, specific things to do to get our bodies to look like this. And I feel like when the BBL, that body form, that body shape really started to come in, this was the first time in a really long time in the history of like getting plastic surgery for celebrities that mum really was the word for a long time. And when I go back to going through those kind of body types, you have to remember that like the heroin chic was not accessible to most people. As I mentioned before, there were a lot of hurdles for you to reach, especially if you were a person of color. Just generally, our bodies are different. Our bodies are just different than white people's bodies. So just even for us, it was something that a lot of us, not all, obviously, but it was something a lot of us couldn't even participate in. And I think for a lot of us, we just, I wouldn't say didn't care, but we realized it wasn't an obtainable body type to us, and we just looked away. Once the slim thick and the BBL body, the body like a Coke bottle, really started to take precedence, this was our time to shine. Or was it? It was one of those aesthetics that was beautiful on everybody but us, apparently. As long as you're white with that body type, great. But that's not what we're here for today. What we're here for today is that as that plastic surgery started to become more accessible to virtually everyone, because back in the day, you had to save and save and save and save to get that plastic surgery, baby. But now you can get surgery on payment plans. I know. What a world. But here's the thing, as you may have noticed, I've been going through a few different body types and styles that started when I remember from the 90s, right? And they just kept moving. About every 5 to 7 years, there's like a new body type drops for women, and we just keep getting sucked into this world of changing our bodies to fit the trend. I'm so worried about this. And the reason I'm worried about it and the reason I bring it up is because when you look at the Kim K's, you look at the Courtney Cox, you look at Pam Anderson, one of the things that they're able to do is as soon as this trend becomes mainstream and even the poorest of us can afford to make our bodies look like theirs, they remove it. Whether it's from discomfort or they don't want something that everybody has anymore, they remove it. And it begs the question, all of these people who went out to make these changes to their body because it was the trend, because that is the aesthetic that is popular, my concern is that they don't have the funds to fix this. They don't have the funds to reverse what they have done. Tara Reid famously received several botched surgeries trying to look like the it girl. And let's never forget that Heidi Montag, in order to one-up everybody in a way that nobody else will ever do again, I don't think, and I hope not, please nobody do that, I'm so scared, had 10 different plastic surgeries a day. And it's important to note that these surgeries are elective. And because they're elective, people hear elective and think not dangerous. Heidi later ends up talking about how that shit was very painful for her to recover from and how dangerous it truly was. And it scares me a lot because now we have all of these young women out there who either have or are getting a BBL as it's falling out of trend. And we regular plebeians don't have the cash money to just remove it, to just change it. Whether you're wanting to be an Instagram baddie or you need this because it makes you feel good as a human being, that's you. I'm not here to shame anybody for their body choices. That's not what we're doing here. But I do urge that you ask yourself, if you are getting this for you, which, great. If you are getting this for the male gaze, hey babes, your business. Or if you're getting it because it's a trend. Because if it's the trend, I'm worried about you. Because these trends are always changing. And my concern there, unlike the celebrities and socialites who have the funds to change their bodies at will as need be, and can also set the standard of the trend and remove it once they feel like it is way too popular and everybody has it, which obviously removes some of the je ne sais quoi of the work. The reality is we don't. And listen, I understand. I'm built like fucking SpongeBob SquarePants, just straight rectangle. And I don't say that to have anybody compliment me or change that for me or be like, you're not, I am. Any curvature you've ever seen on my body is because I deliberately moved my body into an odd S shape so that I could have something. But I am built like SpongeBob SquarePants. And believe you me, I have spent many a moment wondering what it would be like if I could just do this or do that. But I just realized that one, there's therapy that I need for some of this and have been getting for some of it when I can. I also realize that it is hard, right, to look at this world and see these celebrities and see them looking so fabulous and see everyone just ogling their bodies and thinking how gorgeous their bodies are. It's hard to see that and not want to participate. The heroin chic aesthetic was inaccessible to most, but the move to more curvaceous and thicker bodies, the BBL, led to a boom in plastic surgery and a boom in people rushing to get a BBL. As soon as people heard that that's what it was, so many people were running out. Because that was one of the few surgeries, like I spoke about earlier, that just was shrouded in secrecy for so long until it finally came out. Once it came out, the girlies went running. Everybody ran who wanted it, and they got this thing done. It's also accessible to more people. It was something that a lot of people could actually obtain surgically, whereas heroin chic was not like that. And my concern is that I don't know what the next new body type is going to be that drops that everybody's going to be moving towards. And while I would never tell anybody what to do with their body because that is your business and whatever you need to do to feel comfortable and confident that hurts no one else or you, I'm there for babes. But I would strongly urge you to just maybe wait, check on yourself, ask if you want this for you to feel better about yourself, or if you're getting it because that's the trendy body. Because remember, we plebeians down here can save up for these surgeries, but damn, we can't save up to fix them.
Craziest thing about this to me is like the amount of wealth it takes for them to have set the BBL trend to the point where like so many young girls are like probably using all their savings to get this BBL. And then as soon as the whole world is onto it, they go, psych, what are you broke bitches gonna do now? That is the craziest thing. They just took it away and the trend is over. When the Kardashians take out their BBLs, it means too many people have BBLs now. So we're done. The trend is over. And like, they just have the money to, you know, do that. I think, and that is again, kind of what I'm saying when I'm saying, just be careful when you're making your body a trend, because the people that the kind of lifestyle you're trying to live, you most likely do not have the funds to sustain, because they have the money to treat their bodies like trends. Do you actually though? Because when you really invest in something that you think you're gonna like for your whole life, but it turns out it's just a trend, what are you gonna do now?
All right, that's it. That's the video. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I will be doing like some more, you know, little commentary things here and there as I see fit. Let me know if there's anything that y'all would like me to talk about as well. And also drop your comments below. What do you think about the change in the BBL? And like, don't even start on who they're dating, because y'all, I know, and I don't wanna. All right, if y'all enjoyed this video, please do me a favor and give this video a big thumbs up, so then that way the algorithm goddess can do what she does best, which is push me further down into the algorithm so that I can continue to do whatever the fuck I want. All right, as usual, huge shout out to my patrons and spooky bays, yeah, without which I truly would not be able to keep the bats in the belfry and the spiders firmly ensconced in their webs. And to all of you who watch, like, share, and subscribe, I appreciate you as well. All right, y'all, cost $0 to be kind. It's so good for your soul. That was a terrible note, but I'm tired and I had a long night. Until next time, XOXO. Got a girl. Bye.